One of my favorite memories around the Christmas season is when one of our children, Caleb, he was in kindergarten, and he came running out to say, "Mom, guess what? I get to be one of the wise guys, one of the 3 wise guys in the Christmas play." We have so many fun memories around the holidays, but it's also a time that can bring up some loneliness, discouragement, and even depression. In fact, in talking to some of the folks I've worked with in the past who are on the police force and the rescue workers, they talk about the increase of violence and the increase of people hurting themselves or others around the holidays because it can be quite emotional. And George Bailey in the movie It's a Wonderful Life is an incredible example of that. It was a night much like this when George Bailey was standing on a snow-covered bridge in Bedford Falls, contemplating taking his own life, contemplating jumping. He was wishing he'd never been born. And the reason he was there is hugely significant. In fact, the reason George Bailey is standing on that bridge in Bedford Falls on that snowy night was because he was so discouraged. Sometimes we underestimate discouragement, but the reality is it drove him to the bridge where he was contemplating taking his own life, wishing he'd never been born. You see, George Bailey owed a large sum of money that he knew he could never pay back. He felt responsible for it, even though someone else had lost it. So he's standing on that bridge contemplating taking his own life. And guess what happened? Clarence, the apprentice angel who was coming to help give him a new perspective, jumped in, and George Bailey immediately started thinking about Clarence, and he jumped in to help save him. And then what happened was awesome. Clarence walked George Bailey through the lives of those he cared most about, showing him what their lives would be like had he never been born. And guess what? Not long later, George Bailey is standing on that same bridge, pleading with God for his life back. His finances, his friends, his family, nothing had changed in his situation, except his perspective towards it was completely opposite. That is the power of perspective. From going from just feeling so discouraged that he's ready to take his own life, to feeling so grateful that he cannot wait to get back, even if it meant that he still owed the same amount of money and he still faced possible jail time. My friends, perspective is the most powerful thing that we can choose in our life, because when we change that one thing, everything else changes around it. In fact, the sign language for perspective is this. See, we get to look at something from any direction we choose. So as George Bailey discovered, whether or not we have a wonderful life is really up to us and up to the perspective that we get to choose every day of our lives. Every moment of every day, I get to choose my attitude and perspective. And when I do it the way he did, and I consider the fact that I have so many things to be grateful for versus things to grumble and gripe and complain about, guess what? We each get to have more wonderful in our lives. This is Joan Endicott, and if you're watching this anywhere other than my blog, come on over to joanendicott.com. I'd love you to leave a comment down below and share something that's helped you to find more wonderful in your life.